The Indian subcontinent stands on the precipice of a dangerous escalation. The long-standing tensions between India and Pakistan, two nuclear-armed nations, have flared anew. The line of control, a volatile border that divides the disputed region of Kashmir, has become a flashpoint. Recent events, marked by violence and accusations, have pushed these neighboring countries perilously close to the brink. The world watches with apprehension as the specter of war casts a long shadow over the region. This latest chapter in the India-Pakistan conflict is fueled by a complex web of historical grievances, territorial disputes, and deep-seated mistrust. The two nations have fought three major wars since their independence in 1947, two of which were directly over Kashmir. The mountainous region, claimed by both countries, remains a source of constant friction and a potential trigger for a larger conflict. Adding fuel to the fire was the Pahalgam incident in April 2025. This horrific attack in Indian-controlled Kashmir claimed the lives of 26 innocent people, most of whom were tourists. India was quick to blame Pakistan for the attack, accusing its neighbor of harboring and supporting terrorist groups operating within its borders. Pakistan vehemently denied any involvement, further deepening the chasm of mistrust. The Pahalgam attack proved to be a turning point, shattering any semblance of normalcy that existed. The incident unleashed a torrent of anger and anguish in India, with public pressure mounting on the government to take decisive action. Pakistan, for its part, accused India of using the attack to further its own agenda in Kashmir and vowed to retaliate against any aggression. In the early hours of May 6, 2025, the conflict took a dramatic turn. Pakistan launched a series of coordinated drone and missile strikes targeting multiple locations within Indian territory. The attacks, which Pakistan claimed were in retaliation for the Pahalgam incident, sent shockwaves across the region and raised fears of an all-out war. The Pakistani offensive focused on Indian military installations and strategic assets, signaling a clear escalation in intent. Cities across northern India were put on high alert as sirens wailed, warning residents to take cover. Among the targets were air bases, army camps, and communication hubs in the states of Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab, Rajasthan, and Gujarat. India responded swiftly and decisively to the Pakistani attacks, launching its own offensive operation, codenamed Operation Sindoor. The Indian Air Force carried out precision airstrikes on what it claimed were terrorist training camps and launch pads located within Pakistan and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. The Indian government asserted that Operation Sindoor was not an act of aggression, but a preemptive strike aimed at eliminating terrorist infrastructure and preventing future attacks on Indian soil. They emphasized that the targets were carefully selected to minimize civilian casualties and that all necessary precautions were taken to avoid escalation. Pakistan, however, disputed India's claims, alleging that the airstrikes had caused significant civilian casualties and amounted to a blatant act of aggression. They vowed to respond in kind, raising the stakes even higher in this dangerous game of tit-for-tat. The recent escalation in hostilities has left its mark on both sides of the border. While the initial exchange of fire involved aerial strikes, the conflict quickly spilled over into intense cross-border shelling and artillery duels. Several regions, home to millions of civilians, have been caught in the crossfire, bearing the brunt of the conflict. In Indian-controlled Kashmir, the districts of Uri, Poonch, Rajouri, and Kupwara have witnessed heavy shelling, with reports of casualties and damage to infrastructure. Schools have been closed indefinitely, and residents have been advised to stay indoors or seek shelter in underground bunkers. Punjab, another border state, has also been severely affected. Explosions were heard in the city of Pathankot, located close to the border, and several villages along the line of control have been evacuated. Schools in the region have been closed for 3 days as a precautionary measure. Further south, in the desert state of Rajasthan, drones were intercepted near the city of Jaisalmer, a popular tourist destination. The incident highlighted the vulnerability of even areas located far from the immediate border region. The recent escalation of tensions between India and Pakistan has sent shockwaves through the international community. World leaders have expressed deep concern over the situation, urging both countries to exercise restraint and engage in dialogue to prevent further escalation. The United Nations Security Council held an emergency meeting to discuss the crisis, but no concrete action has been taken so far. The UN Secretary-General called for an immediate ceasefire and urged both sides to act with utmost responsibility and avoid any further escalation. Neighboring countries, including China, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka, have also expressed their concern and called for a peaceful resolution to the conflict. They have emphasized the need for dialogue and diplomacy to de-escalate the situation and prevent a humanitarian crisis. Section 6. America's Measured Stance, a call for dialogue and de-escalation. The United States, a key player in the region, has taken a cautious and measured stance on the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan. While expressing concern over the situation, the US has refrained from taking sides or publicly condemning either country. US Vice President J.D. Vance, known for his non-interventionist views, stated that the conflict is fundamentally none of our business. His comments sparked controversy, with some criticizing the US for not taking a more active role in mediating the crisis. However, Secretary of State Marco Rubio took a more proactive approach, engaging in direct talks with his counterparts in both India and Pakistan. He urged both sides to exercise restraint, avoid further escalation, and engage in direct dialogue to resolve their differences peacefully. Section 7. Diplomatic efforts. A glimmer of hope in a sea of uncertainty. Amidst the escalating tensions and the looming threat of war, diplomatic efforts are underway to try and de-escalate the situation and find a peaceful resolution. Back-channel talks between high-ranking officials from both countries are reportedly ongoing, although details remain scarce. International actors, including the United States, Russia, and China, have offered to mediate between India and Pakistan. However, both countries have so far resisted third-party intervention, preferring to resolve their differences bilaterally. The Organization of Islamic Cooperation, OIC, has also expressed its willingness to play a role in mediating the conflict. The OIC has called for a peaceful resolution of the Kashmir dispute, which it views as the root cause of the tensions between India and Pakistan. Section 8. The human cost, casualties, and the plight of civilians. While the geopolitical implications of the conflict are significant, it is the human cost that is the most tragic and immediate consequence. The recent hostilities have resulted in casualties on both sides of the border, with civilians bearing the brunt of the violence. Conflicting reports make it difficult to ascertain the exact number of casualties. Pakistan claims that 31 civilians, including women and children, were killed in the Indian airstrikes. India, however, disputes these figures, maintaining that its strikes were targeted at terrorist infrastructure and that all necessary precautions were taken to minimize civilian casualties. On the Indian side, at least 16 civilian deaths have been reported due to Pakistani shelling. Thousands more have been displaced from their homes, seeking refuge in makeshift camps or with relatives in safer areas. Section 9. A fragile peace. The current situation and the path forward. As of May 9th, 2025, the situation along the India-Pakistan border remains tense, but appears to have stabilized somewhat. Both sides have refrained from further airstrikes, and the intensity of cross-border shelling has reduced. However, the risk of renewed escalation remains high, and the situation could change rapidly. Both countries remain on high alert, with troops deployed along the border in a state of heightened readiness. The line of control remains a volatile and unpredictable flashpoint, with even a minor incident having the potential to trigger a wider conflict. The path forward remains uncertain. Dialogue and diplomacy are crucial to de-escalating the situation and finding a lasting solution. However, given the deep-rooted mistrust and the complex historical grievances, achieving a breakthrough will require significant effort and compromise from both sides.